All right. We are working with the United States Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center on a drone detection, identification, and counter system. Jack O'Neill, Intelligence Analysis Major.
Matthew Borscofed, Engineering Major.
Javier Queen, CS Major.
Anna Rose Lundblad, Nursing Major.
So this week we had a lot of big breakthroughs that helped clarify what we're trying to solve. So our problem is going to be stateside. As it starts to make sense when we're working with the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center, when we're working with nuclear weapons that are owned by the United States, our issues will probably be stateside. So looking into, as far as that goes, complying with FAA, but also given some leniency. So there are areas that we'll be operating in that we don't know of, but we could still take out GPS and do things that we thought we weren't going to be able to do. It's going to be an active system, so constantly looking, constantly sending out signals, looking to detect other drones, detecting presence in real time with the ability to engage and bring drone to the ground, as well as potentially being able to have the operator take over the drone that's flying. Detection of the system is not important as we thought it was because it actually serves as an extra deterrent. So if you're somebody that is flying a drone into this space and sees that there might be a system here in place, it should deter you not to fly in there. If you still decide to fly there, we'll be able to take it down. Power can be ground or battery. There will be areas where we can plug into a power grid, as well as they would sometimes, in some respects, prefer batteries, so we'll probably be sticking to using military-grade batteries. And then lastly, going off of the power situation, they want it to be able to fit in the back of a Lenco, a Bearcat, or a Humvee. And I said, would it be an MRAP? And they said no, because MRAPs are actually too heavy. So those are some of our big breakthroughs this week. Our mission model canvas, looking at that, just kind of looking at beneficiaries. Insofar as we were able to clarify people that are at these facilities, security personnel, crew members, and some of the big kind of value props are having this being able to be available 24/7 will reduce the amount of people patrolling and looking for these types of attacks, these types of drones coming in. And so here's a big things.
So again, some of our teams are that with people monitoring it, since that would cause too much time and information to be stolen, and basically along with the time aspect is that there'd be no time for the drone to be taken down if it were done manually, because by the time you see the drone, it's too late. So some of the gains would be that it would be able to be detected in time, so it would be countered, and there would be no extra work for the people already on duty. And overall, it would maintain the security of the facility that it's on. So we changed our customer workflow this week, and we're still working on it, but basically it would start with the Air Force officer, and the system would detect whether it's an enemy or civilian, since it is stateside, and then in the end, if it's civilian, it would not be counteracted, but if it's enemy, it would.
And that also kind of depends on the behavior of the drone. If it's a civilian drone flying straight towards the facility, it would probably still be counteracted. So our minimum viable product has changed greatly this week. What we are thinking for the detection of the drone, we have a wide range of things that are available to us now that it can be active rather than passive. So what we're thinking is that we'll use multiple systems to increase the effectiveness of its detection. First off, radar stands for radio detection and ranging. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. So those kind of accomplish the same thing, but we figured that having a redundancy would improve its effectiveness. RF sensor is a radio frequency sensor. This particular one pictured is created by a company called Drone, who's doing a lot of work in this area. And some of their products, what they're able to do is detect drones by the radio frequency sensor and can actually determine what model and everything the drone is, which combined with the two other sensing things that I just mentioned could help us determine if it's a civilian drone or if it's been modified and things like that. And then lastly, thermal camera. This could help see the heat from the engine. So with these four, the first two might pick up things like birds, But if it's not putting out a radio signal and it doesn't have a heat signature like an engine, then we can, determine that that's not a drone.
One of our minimum viable product for taking it out is Lockheed Martin is currently developing a laser, a 150 kilowatt laser that can be attached to a Humvee. And quoting our sponsor, a Humvee is readily available for most circumstances where this is going to be deployed. So having a 150 kilowatt laser that can penetrate up to about 4 inches of steel and take out that truck's engine while it's running is readily available for us to take out enemy drones.
Something else we discovered this week too, actually directed from our sponsor, was Skynet, and it can be, they have their own gun for it, and they also can be used in a 12-gauge shotgun. So trying to look at how we can use something like laser, something maybe at this smaller scale, and automate the shotgun, automate this after our sensing picks up where the drone is, and have that shoot the drone out of the sky.
And of course, we're also looking into soft kill solutions like a software attack, or maybe even tampering with GPS. And so our next steps for this week, we're going to continue to research and redefine some of the things that I mentioned for the MVP, particularly the laser, the Skynet things, looking into other things. We're also going to look into funding for this MVP, seeing if we can get some money to actually purchase some of these products and test them out, see what we can do with them. And then,
yeah, and then we're talking about the drone again next week to talk about, a lot of the systems are pretty big, and they're very big and heavy, and most of them are stationary in some senses. So how can we maybe use some of the technology to, so that would fit in the back of something like a Bearcat? And that's it.
All right, guys, nice work. So let's get some feedback. Yeah, I have a question. And this is just because I don't know. So how can you tell if something like a drone is an enemy drone or a character?
So I think the key giveaways would be behavior. Is it flying straight towards us? Things like that. Does it appear to be heavily modified? Does it, is it carrying some kind of unidentified payload, or can we identify that payload as an explosive or something like that?
And also a military drone is probably modified to a different radio frequency with different security protocols that we might be able to detect over a radio frequency. So then we would be able to tell, hey, that this one is heavily modified with a lot of security protocols to keep it from being hacked into. This is most likely a DoD-approved drone.
Can you guys turn back to your MVP?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, your mission model canvas. So there's a lot less information here than there used to be. Tell us a little bit about why and what you're doing with that.
Pretty much scrapped it, because a lot of the information we were given from the first couple of weeks was essentially null and void after we moved forward in the last few days.
What led you to discover that? Like, how did you figure that out? What do you think?
I'd say better, more clearer responses from context.
Okay.
Just, different ways of asking questions and just getting clear responses.
Yeah, okay. It sounds like you're having some good growth in that area. I also like that you're continuing to focus on the solutions. From the presentation, it's a little bit hard to know where you came from and where you're going. So try to keep some of the good that was there before, or think through if there is any good you can keep, and take us with you on that journey when you present here, just so we can kind of understand what's going on a little better.
Why are y'all worried about not shooting down civilian drones?
Depending on where this is deployed.
The reason I ask is just because I know, like Lake Anna, they'll shoot you if you get near the power plant.
Yeah.
So why, if they're willing to expend lives of that, why would you be willing to not shoot
So
this drone?
if you're flying on the other side of Lake Anna, nowhere near the power plant, and just taking a picture of your boat, there's no reason to shoot it down. But if you start approaching the power plant, then we would shoot it down.
And I think that it's likely the system will be able to detect drones a large range out of where they're actually a threat. So, it's important to determine if we can identify them as an enemy from that range and take them out, that'd be good, but it's also, until we're sure, we won't just start shooting.
Yes.
Can you go to your customer workflow real fast? So if you have an automated detection, where does the Air Force officer play into that? If you have like a system that's doing automated detection.
So I don't think I think you should get rid of the top one. Because if you're guarding an installation, I don't think you care what the source is of the drone. It's if it gets close enough that it becomes a potential threat. So it's behavior based, not like trying to decide whether it's friendly or enemy or military or non-military. Who cares? Like if you got a military drone that's zipping in towards a nuclear facility, I would blast that out of the sky if I had a choice. I wouldn't care. So, I mean, I think that's realistically the right answer.
It's mostly with the people that are good flying the drones, probably no, not to fly near.
So our mentors and sponsors have anything to add? Maybe jump in if you do. The only thing I would add is, when you scrap and you get back to working, that's an intense work time, right? So this next week is going to be a really important time to put some extra work in and get yourself back, right? I think that can be an absolutely good thing since there's some really good growth. I like that you're being more specific in your questions, that you're happier or feeling more confident in the answers you're getting. I think that's all very good. But when that does happen, you've got to jump in and do some extra work and get yourself back to school then.
Thank you.
All right, good job, guys.
1, 2, 3.